him is not specified. But because it is a procedure, I guess, it will be 1 week or 1 day or 3 days or 1 month. Because we are dealing with the office of the Chief Justice. The office of the Chief Justice is quite significant, position in the Constitution. Mind you, the Chief Justice, constitutes the third arm or branch of government. So we are dealing with a very sensitive matter.
You talked about there not being a duration, and in fact, it's one of the questions I was equally asking my colleagues, that because there is no specification for the duration, for instance, can the current, the president, the outgoing president, for instance, constitute the committee that would look into this, that perhaps would have a week to look at the issue?
But he can, because the president will be bereft of his executive powers as from the 7th, so he can. But as to whether he may, it's another matter. But I would think that the president already has been battered. He has a very low, rating, by Ghanaians. I don't think he will take any such, step to further, lower the esteem that Ghanaians, now hold him. I don't think he will do so. And if I were the president, I will not, because his reputation has sunk very, very, very low. And adding this one, will worsen. It will make the confusion worse confounded. I don't expect him to do that.
Now,
if I were the president, I would leave this matter to the incoming president or the president-elect.
On that note, on perhaps leaving it to the incoming president, I want to know, does the petition expire with the administration, or it still remains until the next government comes in?
No, there's nothing about, the petition, lapsing or expiring with an incumbent. So that would be a meaning, that one will want to import. But that will, to do so will end everyone in, an absurdity.
Now, what about, for instance, those who say that if, for example, the president constitutes a committee that looks into this, and they are able to come to a conclusion that, for instance, there is nothing untoward or there is no basis for Professor Kweku Assare's petition, and the Chief Justice is given a clean bill of health. Now, can there be another instance where somebody else, for instance, petitions over the same issue, or when something like this happens, the principle of double jeopardy will apply here, or it doesn't apply?
None. You see, first of all, with the greatest respect to my friend Kweku Asare, I don't see any merit in the petition. I don't see any merit, even though I was one of the strong voices against what the Chief Justice attempted to do. I criticized it. But you see, under Article 125, Clause 4 of the 1992 Constitution, the Chief Justice shall be the head of the judiciary and shall be responsible for the administration and supervision of the judiciary. We all know, and you should know, that as head, the Chief Justice, I'm not referring to this particular Chief Justice, but the office can initiate appointments. But because the Constitution vests appointing functions in the President, if the Chief Justice should do any such thing, the Chief Justice should not be under the hands, in writing and signed by the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice ought not do that. The Chief Justice can leave this, in the capable hands of the Judicial Secretary. to maybe initiate some interaction with the executive, because after all, it is the executive that will, do the nomination and then follow up with the processes. What the Chief Justice did in this matter, was taking, the initiative and ensuring that he followed up to conclusion. That was where she went wrong. But I don't see, any error on the part of the Chief Justice to either request an increase in the number of justices, or even to suggest it. The Attorney General has to suggest names. The Bar Association may suggest names. The Chief Justice may suggest names. The President may suggest names. The Speaker. They are all entitled, and we know the politics in this country. What I find wrong, with this matter, under discussion, was the fact that it appeared as if the Chief Justice all by itself. But if you look at the other letters, making reference to some previous discussion, nobody knows whether that discussion was initiated by the President or it was by the Chief Justice. This is where I have a little problem with my good friend's petition. If my candid opinion is that it is without any merit.
So you think that the petition is without merit? Now, this point,
without merit.
The point you make about one aspect of the petition, which makes reference to the request for more judges and the letter referencing previous discussions, the petitioner, Kweku Asare, here talks about how the letter was written on the letterhead of the Chief Justice, meaning or suggesting that there was no consultation with the Judicial Council, and that he finds problematic.
Yes, but as head of the judiciary, there's nothing in the Constitution indicating that if the Chief Justice, has to write a letter, the writing of the letter shall be in consultation with the Judicial Council. Nowhere in the Constitution will you find. So the nitty-gritty or mechanism of administration have not been spelled out in the Constitution. So every head and the current Chief Justice, the incumbent Chief Justice, wouldn't have been the one and only Chief Justice who has done that. Previous Chief Justices, might have done that. The she is now on the spotlight, because people saw, the writing on the wall, that the way she was holding herself out with the president was not good enough. I criticize that, especially when I noticed in the papers that, they were dancing. And I told my students, the Chief Justice ought not, do this sort of thing. It sends a wrong message to the general public that here we are, the Chief Justice, is always dancing to the President of the Republic, and therefore, it's a foregone conclusion. I did, make that remark. Well, to that extent, I'll not be surprised. But when you look at the merits, I don't think that, they carry any weight.
Okay.
It's just one of the legal nuisances that we are going to have, just to embarrass the Chief Justice to either morally persuade her to resign, and it's also not good for the President-elect to begin his administration with this, controversial step. I don't think it's good for our democracy.
Now, you have spoken about the first part of the petition that talks about the request for more judges. Now, the second, one of the bases for the petition as well is the arbitrary reconstitution of panels and transfer of justices. And I'll just read it. It says that there have been reported incidences of the Chief Justice's direct interference with duly constituted panels with no explanation or public interest reasons for doing so. We consider the reconstitution of panels to be beyond the Chief Justice's administrative power and amounts to a direct interference with the impartiality and independence of duly constituted judicial panels. Is that one also without merit?
It's without merit. It's without merit. You see, as head of the judiciary, the chief justice is close or vested with enormous powers, and the powers of the chief justice include taking arbitrary decisions. I mean, if the chief justice cannot cause, or cause to be transferred or directly transfer a judge for stated reasons, then what is he there for? Or what will he be there for? So I don't think that, transferring, or because the rules of court, which apply in all our courts, give the power to transfer, justices, or the justices themselves sometimes will request the chief justice to make the transfer, and there's nothing wrong with that. The Court Act contains numerous provisions. So again, it is not out of step for the chief justice to make any such transfer. Where I'll find a problem is, for instance, where hello.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Where the chief justice will arbitrarily truncate a pending case. Maybe the case has come to an end, and the judge is writing his or her ruling or judgment, and on that score, in order to twist the judgment, the chief justice will unnecessarily transfer or cause to be transferred that particular sitting judge. I have no hard evidence that the incumbent chief justice has done any such thing. What I have been hearing, when I put my ears on the ground, is that sometimes he interferes by calling judges and telling them. In fact, to be honest with you, I myself, I have sued the judge, and I'm praying for an order directed at the chief justice to transfer this particular judge who has remained at the same post for over 15 years. I've sued 3 weeks ago. I wasn't going to make it public. So if the chief justice herself felt that that particular judge ought to be transferred, and she transferred that judge, what wrong? It wouldn't occasion any injustice. Administratively, the judges have to be routinely transferred. So if the chief justice exercises such power or authority, she should not be impeached for doing what the law says she can do. No one can be faulted for doing what the law enjoins him or her to do. So on this ground too, the petition is either mischievous or wholly without merit and should be thrown out.
Now, it's still on the issue of the reconstitution of panels. Now, the petitioner cites the reconstitution of the panel for the hearing of Dr. Opuni's trial, where it says that Dr. Opuni's legal team, led by lawyer Samuel Kujo, filed an interlocutory appeal on the Supreme Court, on July 7, 2023, arguing that the Court of Appeal erred in its judgment. Several months after the appeal was filed, parties appeared before the Supreme Court on January 17, 2024, for a hearing. The court, presided over by Justice Mariama Owusu, along with Justice Yao Dako Asare, Emmanuel Yoni Kolendi, George Kinsley Kumson, and Henry A. Kofi, ordered the parties to file written submissions. Then, on May 8, 2024, the Chief Justice controversially reconstituted a panel hearing Dr. Opuni's appeal, presiding over by the new panel, which included Justice Mariama Owusu, Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, Yao Dako Asare, and Enes Gaiwu. only 2 of the original justices remained. Lawyer Samuel Kujo objected to the new panel, citing Article 1573 of the Constitution, which stipulates that a judge or a panel cannot withdraw from a case after hearing arguments until judgment is delivered. It says that there was no administrative authority for the Chief Justice to reconstitute the panel and in the Opuni case without assigning the justifiable reason. It is one, again, generated public, on and on and on. So in this particular instance, you say that still there is no basis?
Well, you see, if you look at Article 296 of our Constitution, on the exercise of discretionary power, it is quite clear. It is quite clear that the exercise of discretionary power shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased, either by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with due process of law. So the Constitution itself adumbrates such occurrences, taking place. You see, it has anticipated or contemplated that there may be a public officer who, on occasion, can exercise discretionary power capriciously or arbitrarily, or biased.
Okay.
So once the Constitution has anticipated the occurrence of this, what is the remedial measure? It is not, impeachment of the Chief Justice. And as I remember, suggesting that there must be certain amendments. In my debate lecture, Chachichi Kata said, if we have to tinker with, everything, that the Constitution will not be growing. So we should allow ourselves to be committing blunders and mistakes, and then know how, we can, provide solutions or remedial measures that will not, cause, that will not be solutions instead of a problem. You see, so this will be a solution instead of a problem. We are now going to look for the stake with which to beat the Chief Justice. I don't think we should do that.
Now, on the element about exercising arbitrary powers and all that, in this particular instance, the lawyer for Dr. Opuni, in objecting to the reconstitution, also cited Article 1573 of the Constitution, which stipulates that a judge or panel cannot withdraw from a case after hearing arguments until judgment is delivered. Is this not a sound argument? Not necessarily to get the Chief Justice out, but once there is a portion relating to arbitrary powers, there is also a portion that stipulates what the panel can or cannot do.
Yes, on this ground, I would tend to agree, with my good friend Kwekwaza that maybe the Chief Justice says something untoward. But again, we all spoke, in respect of this Opuni matter. I used to, teach my students, with the happenings in the Supreme Court, and said that all was not well. But the thing has started long before Tokonu became Chief Justice. And why are we now singling the same Constitution in Article 17, frowns upon discrimination? We are trying to discriminate by singling out, one of several Chief Justices, who have acted contrary to the tenets and spirit of this same Constitution, and nothing, happened to them. Why now? So on the sense of Article 17, we can also say that we are trying to discriminate against, Tokonu, and that because the Constitution frowns, upon or against discrimination, again, the petition, should be considered in that light and thrown out.
So, I mean, Kwekwaza saying that saying that, for instance, there's abuse of office. He cited numerous instances. He cited various cases to back his argument. Issues of incompetence, issues of unreasonableness as well. You say that still, despite all this evidence adduced, the petition is without merit and should be disregarded.
The issue of competence or incompetence is relative. By what yardstick is he measuring the incumbent competence or incompetence? So what unless you apply an objective criterion or criteria, and by what stretch of imagination can you from a distance measure the competence or incompetence of a sitting chief justice? If so, the outgoing president should have been fired long ago. When I remember, beginning of the second term of the president, I did point out that he will go down in history as the worst, president the NPP have produced, and he's going to go down that lane. At that time, why didn't we make ugly noises about incompetence or incompetence? So I agree that what the chief justice did was an unhappy error. But it is not a ground, to impeach her, for removal. No, let us try, to apply and uphold, the rule of law. She has done something, that she shouldn't have done. But is it sufficient to merit impeachment?
You disagree?
On the issue that she has been empaneling, Justice J.N.K. Taylor brought an application. The justices of the Supreme Court sat and they ruled that it is within the exclusive province of the Chief Justice to empanel. Until that decision is reversed, our future CJ shall continue to do that. What is the solution? I have suggested that one way out would be for and I'm happy that the NDC has more than a majority to deal with this issue. The issue of appointment of CJ under Article 144 and 144 2 and 4, that should be looked at again. You see, the 144.1, the Chief Justice shall be appointed by the President after a consultation with the Council of State and with approval of Parliament. 2. The other Supreme Court justices shall be appointed by the President. 3. Justices of the Court, then 4. Parliament. 5. Justices of the Court, and so then where the office of Chief Justice is vacant, that is 1446. Where the office of Chief Justice is vacant, or where the Chief Justice is for any reason unable to perform the functions of his office, until a person has been appointed to and has assumed the function of that office, or until the person holding that office has resumed the functions of that office, that the case may be, those functions shall be performed by the most senior of the justices of the Supreme Court. And I'm saying that 5, 6, A, and B should be vacant, so that we'll have where it is, where the office of Chief Justice is vacant, the most senior justice of the Supreme Court shall be appointed. Period. That is what we need. So if we remove the incumbent Chief Justice, then the next most senior is Justice Bafuboni, followed by Justice Boaman. So one of them. If I had my way, at the time that Tokonu was being appointed, I was on air saying that she was too young, too junior in the rank to be considered. Nobody did anything about it. And I know Kwagwasa supported me, but he didn't call for the impeachment of the president so that we could do the needful. So I'll not share on this occasion, identical sentiment with Kwagwasa. What I'll rather say is that we should all, see to a better performance by President-elect John Dramani Mahama. So when he comes, what do we do to support him so that he will not go the same way that Nanado did? That's what I'm looking at. How we can uphold the rule of law, protect our democratic credentials, and move this nation forward. The forward march, will be riddled with intractable problems. But that is, the nature of democracy. let the problems come and then we try to. But when we try to single out on the freakish ground, with the greatest respect to Dr. Starr, I think we'll be nodding a little.
Now, the bit about the incompetence, he cites the basis for it. If I'm to read it, it will take a while. About 3 paragraphs of it. It's on page 18 of the petition. But the concluding part of the petition seemingly summarizes his arguments, calling or basis for this petition. He says that, the Chief Justice's actions discussed hearing not only breach constitutional provisions, but also constitute stated misbehavior and confirm acts of incompetence, and on and on and on. But your conclusion is that the president-elect should not fall for this. You don't see realistically President Akufo-Addo also dealing with it, and it's most likely going to be carried forward to the next administration. And you are asking President John Dramani Mahama not to fall for this petition. Is that what it is?
Sure. I would, if I were the president-elect, I wouldn't want to begin my administration of this controversial. No. And if I were Nanado, I'll also not, attempt to deal with it myself, because I've already, obtained enough criticism. The president has been severely, roundly condemned, for administrative incompetence, and then bias and nepotism and favoritism, and he's going to add this to his baggage. I will not do that. And then if I were Mahama, I also not welcome this thing that the first day on my table is a petition for the removal of one of the arms. What I would rather do, and what I do suggest, is that let us, leave this same Chief Justice and see whether, like the typical chameleon to things. If he does somersaults, then we all know, that she's not, reliable and independent, and, be going, with a political, wind. If he blows this way, or if the pendulum swings this way, then you dance to the tune of that. Let us wait and see how she is going to hold herself out. For somebody, whose body language on the 17th of October, didn't give the nation anything good to write home about. Let's watch. Let's wait and see. Okay. Whether she's going to change her body language, she's going to fall in love with the NDC government, or she will stick to, the NPP government. This will, give us a clearer picture, of knowing who to appoint when the office of Chief Justice becomes vacant. But whether, the person, who to appoint or not, let us leave it to the most senior justice of the Supreme Court. All this palaver, Mula Balu and all that will not arise. This is my candid opinion.
Okay. And so would you be surprised, for instance, if President Akufo-Addo acts on it now before he leaves office? And then also in responding to that, tie that in with President-elect John Dramani Mahama, would you be also surprised if President Akufo-Addo doesn't act on it and he acts on it when he takes office?
I mean, both will be amateuring, if they end up in such conclusion. They are astute politicians. Both, Nanado and JM are astute politicians who know, where to traverse and not where to traverse. Each of them, and both of them know that, this is like an albatross, which is going to hang around their necks. And I mean, why should Nanado, shouldn't, and the JM should find a way of, discussing this, with Kwekwaza to either withdraw it, because either way is not good, for us. What are we going to achieve by removing the incumbent Chief Justice? people are going to say that it's being orchestrated by the NDC because they have the majority and they want to embarrass, Nanado by, asking, for this petition and pretending that it's coming from one of the severest critics, of Nanado, Professor Kwekwaza. Cui bono. Cui bono.
Now, away from the subject of this petition, let me quickly pick your thoughts on the outcome of the election. Many people have talked about how even if they expected a win for the NDC, the margins have been shocking. Is that the same reaction for you?
My sister, I tell you 100%. Hey, we have been battered. I knew we were going to lose, but it's not the margin. I mean, I thought it was going, NDC will have, let's say, 170. But this one, this trash in there, please, I beg, and this next time, they should have mercy on us. Hey! My sister, this one, we are still, licking our wounds. So let me,
I mean, what do you think could have contributed to this? Did the government underestimate how people were feeling about, conditions in the country, especially the economic conditions?
Sure. The president of all presidents and his cohorts, the finance minister, Ken Oforiatta, his prime minister, Gabriel Sarah, and then his able, lieutenant. I think they underestimated the anger in Ghanaians, that manifested on the ground. They underestimated the anger. They underestimated, the ugly noises people were making, or the level of corruption, of the Kufuor government. The level of corruption was so high. The incidents, was so draconian. It made the struggling, economy to continue, to inflict pain and punishment on Ghanaians. I was on a TV3 show, and I said I would not, I couldn't wait, to see the back of Nanado, because on that day I used the expression pain and punishment, that we did not deserve the pain and punishment. But it was, he couldn't be bothered. So they underestimated, the anger, the pain of Ghanaians, the objective conditions on the ground. Whether the Ghanaians were, famishing in hunger, or, they were discontent, or they were disillusioned, or they resented them, they couldn't be bothered, and therefore, they will not listen, to anybody. When Nanado came, he had a listening ear, and everybody was happy. I even rated him 70% because of the, the policies. But 2 months into his administration, I asked myself, hey, are you going to continue, supporting this government? NPP is my party, but I realized that, all was not going to go well. But I'll tell the NDC to, please, next time, if you whip us, don't take a longer broom. This broom is too long. They swept everything, from another net. So it's a lesson that the incoming administration must learn. Don't take Ghanaians for granted. Today, they'll sing your praises. Tomorrow, they'll crucify you. But my farewell message to Nanado is that he should reconsider everything that he did. He should examine. He should do some, self-soul introspection. Like, where did he go wrong? Why did he not listen to Ghanaians? And all that. So that, I'm not saying he's going to come back. As for coming back, no. But so that he can advise, people who will be consulting him from time to time, with their political aspirations and standards. And to them, the incoming president, please listen, to the voice of the people. Listen to the voice of the people, and where you see, that all is not well, don't take Ghanaians for granted. Always try to find a middle way of appeasing, the people, rather than appease a select few of the people. This the principle is very good. Just as they took the Azuma Nelson principle, because I'm a lawyer for Azuma Nelson, and therefore I know, the principle of taking your own referee into, the arena. So when you are fighting, you know that you may be treated, but because you are your own referee, you don't care about the consequences of your own act. So that is what has happened, and I welcome JM, wish him well, but caution the NDC not to overindulge in their numbers, else they will not even have 8 years, 4 years. They'll be swept aside. The tsunami will grapple with them and they'll lose. But let us all assist in building this nation to the destination that GM has in mind, resetting, Ghana for each and every one.
And in your response to whether the government underestimated the anger of the people, you made reference to, for instance, the high level of corruption among others, and the incoming administration during the campaign trail, talked about initiatives that they were going to roll out to address the issue of corruption. One of them was Operation Recover or Loot. This is to ensure that people who are suspected or are believed or are proven to have, looted state resources, that is recovered. At the moment, this morning, there's a statement that was issued by the transitions team indicating that President-elect John Dramani Mahama has constituted a 5-member team to collect public reports on suspected corruption cases. Let me mention the people on the team to you. It is made up of Samuel Okujetu Ablakwa, who will be the chairman, Daniel Yaudo-Melevo, former Auditor General, COP retired Nathan Kofi Boache, Martin Pebu, private legal practitioner, and then Raymond Acha, an investigative journalist. Can I get your immediate reaction to this team that has been formed to pick reports from the public in relation to these suspected looting?
I have a problem with one or two. One or two, of the names mentioned are, controversial figures.
Which of those are? Which are those?
Accused. For instance, Kofi Boache. Had to, presidential, commission for state misbehavior, corrupting. There's this Benjamin saying that the Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, Georgina Wu, had to deal with. Then Okujetu Ablakwa, is a controversial figure. I don't think the president should begin, with controversial names. You need people, who conduct has not been found to be reprehensible, in their public, life, public office life, So that is one. Number two, the inclusion of the former Auditor General will be like trying to score a political, goal against the MPP, because you remember, I should draw your attention to the Melo saga with the MPP, where even the Supreme Court that found for him had to wait 3 years before they returned their verdict. So I wouldn't put him on it. It would be as if is to score. He's being used as a conduit to achieve the aims and objectives of JM. So I wouldn't. But more importantly, my sister, go to Lands Commission. They have looted. And I have brought an action against them. 1 year, none, nothing has been done. The chairman and the Squeno, the Greater Accra Regional, they've collected monies, they've collected revenue. Where was the Auditor General when all these things were going on? And then this same Auditor General is being brought, to go and chase the loot. Where was he when, they refused, when the land people refused to comply with court orders to pay the loot into court? At least I've drawn the attention, of both Nanado and JM to this publicly. Let them start with that. The amount of money that the government stands, to recover, to realize the receivables are, enormous. It will be enough to help the JM administration call these people to order, charge them. We are not doing anything. And when you talk of, state capture, it is lands committing. For how long should that continue? Trumpeting this into the years of, Ghanaians, the executive, the judiciary, parliament. For how long? So instead of, I'm not, suggesting for, any reason or by any stretch of imagination suggesting that the loot should not be recovered. I am all for it, but not, this committee. JM, if you can, please reconstitute the committee. Listen to us. Some of the people on the committee are themselves looted. So they will just be whitewashing. And again, my political life has shown me, that when one government, exits and another, government comes, what they do is they will call you, please, you come. How much, did you loot? And they are candid with themselves to tell you the truth. How much did you loot? So you say X plus Y. Okay, you take the Y. I'll keep the X. Matter close. This has been the history, of recovery of, in this country. So what I would rather suggest is we have the office of the Auditor General. We have the office of the Controller and Accountant General. We have SHRAG. We have Yoko. I'm not suggesting that, their personnel, are not corrupt. All of us are corrupt in one way or the other. But then it will provide a semblance of neutrality. That constitutes your committee from these well-established governance institutions. SHRAG is there to do this investigation. So if you set up a 5-member, it will be, foraging into, an otherwise constitutional, mandate of SHRAG or Yoko. We have economic crimes. So
you believe that instead of this team, you believe that instead of this 5-member team, it should rather be left to Yoko and SHRAG to investigate the suspected looting?
Yoko, SHRAG, the office of the CID, the Director General of CID, and this thing. But I'm saying that we should look for, persons, with conscience, persons with conscience, so if you begin, by using people, against whom the public has expressed certain controversial sentiments, you haven't, started well at all.
Now you say
we must make use of our governance institutions.
You mentioned that some of the people on the 5-member team are they themselves looters. Can you point to any of them?
I'm saying that all of us are corrupt. All of us. Now, in the case of Kofi Boake, who is one of my good friends, the narcotic drug scandal, mentioned him, and the evidence that was put out, the public domain, revealed that all was not well, with the way he handled that matter. And you remember he was interdicted or something like that. And that led Kofi Boake should have been the IGP some time ago. But it was because of this same allegation, that scorched his fortune.
But was he not cleared? Was he not cleared and reinstated? If you're cleared, is as good as new, right?
I'm saying that whether he was cleared or not, expropriation, has a lot to do with who is in power. Whether we don't need a controversial name, to be involved in this very important exercise. So I'm saying that if, for instance, today GM wants to make Kofi Boateng, assuming without admitting that he will do it, if he were to remain in as incoming IGP, no Ghanaians will rise up against similarly, he should not be doing the Kofi Boateng. No, if I were Kofi Boateng, enough is enough. If they should send anybody to approach me, to do something, I will not, because I want to remain, an objective critic, of the administration to ensure that we do it. I'm not saying I'm an angel. I'm not an angel. But my suggestion is, let us try, to build confidence in the system. If you bring controversial things, the confidence will elude you, to be elusive. And people will say, wine in, new bottle. It will do the same thing. So, my suggestion is, let us leave the governance institutions, judge, Yoko, police, to carry out, we also have the audit. Even women has the parliamentary select committee, on they can expeditiously deal with this problem. But I'm saying that the problem should begin, with Land Commission. I expect JM, and I'm appealing to him to order the arrest of the top 10 officials of land and hold a public inquiry, the full television agent, and ask them to account for all the revenue that they have collected for and on behalf of the government of the Republic of Ghana, which they have not paid into the consolidated fund. Let us begin with that. My brothers and sisters, my dear sister, you'll be shocked as to the amount is more than the 58 million and others sunk into the abyss of the cathedral. I can assure you. I expect them to immediately confront, this problem. It's a challenge I'm throwing, to him. Get the top officials, not the present one, the period, let's say from 1962, when the Administration of Lands Act was passed, today, how many individual lands have been vested in the president? How much revenue has been paid into state coffers, out of which some compensation shall be paid the individuals? Family land. How much of family land has been vested in the president, and how much revenue has accrued? Who received what, and when was that being paid? Let's start now. We shall get more than what we are going to ask the IMF to do that. Allowing people to go away with their loot, so it will amount to discrimination when we leave the officials of Lands Commission and go after politicians as though the Lands Commission officials are safe. And you see that even the same incoming NDC will be involved in this. So in order not to isolate, let us give ourselves the time frame of coming into force of the Administration of Lands Act 123 to date. and let's see, and invite all family owning, land heads to come and testify. Some have died, they have, representatives. Let's all go and testify. And I'm saying that in the case of my great grandfather's land, they have cropped from 1950 during the colonial period to date. But I have evidence that Sylvia Yvonne Udole Sowa collected money from Def Traco and did not pay into government funds. Intia Odamite has collected several monies. They are not paid from 2004 to date. And they sold the people's family land and did not account. But the law has vested such lands in the president to hold in trust for the people, and we are refusing to hold them accountable. So one good thing deserves another. If it is not good for the politician to keep or retain the profit of loot, then the same thing. Let's leave all of them. But if we find that it shall constitute part of the iniquities which is in the Bible, because the Bible teaches us that the sins of our forefathers shall be visited upon generation unto generation. If we feel that what the politicians have done is not good and therefore should be recovered, let JM extend the net to part officials of land from 1962, except those who are dead.
All right.
Except those who have died, we can. But those from 1962 to date who are alive, call all of them and get the money. Let us recover the money from them.
Thank you so much, Doc, for speaking to us. We're grateful for your time, sir.
Thank you.
You had to speak to Dr. Kweku Ansah Asare. He is the former director of the Ghana School of Law. We spent an extensive time with him in relation to the petition for the removal of the Chief Justice. We've spoken about the elections as well, and then also spoken about Operation Oral. And well, for the Chief Justice's petition, he says there is no merit. He says that the two presidents, outgoing President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo and then incoming President John Dramani Mahama, they should not fall for this. He will be surprised if John Dramani Mahama chooses to start off his administration on a controversial note, because he also does not see President Akufo-Addo acting on it at this point in time, looking at the short time frame. Even though there is no time frame mentioned in the Constitution, this kind of hearing would not take about a week. And so he expects that it will be left to the incoming administration, and also he is urging the incoming president not to fall for it. He should allow the Chief Justice to stay in office for some time, after which they can evaluate the work she's doing. If they realize that some of the things that Professor Kweku Asare is complaining about remain, then perhaps that petition can be brought again for her removal. It's still the Morning Star here on Star at 103.5 FM. We are bringing you reactions to the petition for the removal of the Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Tokonu.
To this, Dr. Asa Asante is with the University of Ghana Political Science Department and also head of the Center for European Studies. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Morning Star.
Good morning.
I hope you're well.
I'm well.
Okay. So yesterday evening, news broke about a petition seeking the removal of the Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Tokonu. Have you had a chance to look at this petition?
Oh no, I haven't seen the document yet.
But you've read the excerpts
of it over the radio and all that. Yes.
And first of all, we have spoken to Kweku Ansa Asare, former director of the Ghana School of Law. He believes that this is without merit, and so people should, disregard it. He's urging the president, Anadodan Akufo-Addo, not to act on it. He's also asking President-elect John Dramani Mahama not to act on it. Hence, he will be beginning his administration on a controversial note. What do you think?
Oh, this question, I believe, can we pass it on to the lawyers? They will be able to give us the fine details. I don't know. To be honest with you, I've not read the conditions under which the Chief Justice can be removed. So I would be glad if you could spare me this, and then we'll move on to other areas.
Now, let's briefly touch on something that just came this morning. There is a 5-member team that has been constituted by the incoming administration seeking to recover loot, people who are suspected to have, looted state resources. It is made up of Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. There is also former Auditor General Daniel Yaodomelovo. There is Nathan Kofi-Boakye, COP retired. There's Martin Pebu, and then there is an investigative journalist as well in relation to it. What would you say? What is your immediate reaction to this?
I think it's the body is a good one. The work they are to do is part of our process to strengthen the frontiers of our governance architecture in this country. And all these processes, issue about corruption and investigation leading to it, is in line with the tenets of our constitution and that of good governance. And so I'm really supportive of the cause, and the team that they put together is nothing but the best that can handle this thing without any fear or favor.
It's interesting. You are categorizing the group as the best. We also just picked the thoughts of Kweku Ansah-Asare, and he believes that some of the individuals on there are controversial. For instance, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa and then Nathan Kofi-Boakye as well. He believes that because Nathan Kofi-Boakye, some time ago had some issues in relation to PV Benjamin, eventually he was cleared and reinstated. But he says having something like that also takes a bit of your reputation away, and he believes that this kind of work should be left to Shiraj Iyoko and the CID to handle. You, on the other hand, believe that this is the excellent team that, perfectly fits the job that they've been tasked to do.
If investigation, anybody can be tasked to do investigation and then come out with a report for government to see the way forward. Of course, the institutions are also there, it can be given to them. I don't see anything wrong with it. You want to look at these things and see how best they can help us. So for me, there is nothing absolutely wrong with that. Could you guys say one who have not found anything incriminating against him? He is fit for purpose. And so whatever issue people raise against him, at the end of the day, didn't work. So in the eyes of everybody, including my good self, he has no bad record.
Now, this is a ground on which the incoming administration campaigned heavily on, Operation Recover All Loot. Now, constituting this team to receive reports from the public ahead of the government, starting work officially, what does it do in terms of perception to the people in the country?
Perception about what? The work that they are going to do?
Exactly. Considering that this was a huge campaign promise going into the 2024 election.
Let us remember that corruption has been one of our problems in this country. And over the years, governments have paid lip service to it. What we lose through corruption will blow your mind. We are in IMF looking for $3 billion. Meanwhile, we lose over $3 billion to corruption, thanks to Transparency GII, the body that gives us the figures. So, fix corruption, and you are free from the shackles and tentacles of the Bretton Woods institutions. You are able to drive your own programs from within. We have difficulty accessing funds from outside. even if we are able to get them, they come with all manner of strings attached to them. So the good news is that let's shy away from that, and then we mobilize resources here. We can do a lot of them. People come to political office, and their aim is to make money and go away illegally. And we want to put a stop to this. So if you have a body whose duty it is to go through this thing, so that at the end of the day, they can advise the government as to which direction to go. I'm all for it. And I want them to begin. There are a lot of hanging fruits that they can lay hands on. The cathedral is the number one example, the Tualugu Dam, and the rest of them. They should go into all that for us to know that we have value for money. We should have value for money audit, and the process has just started. And for me, there is nothing better than that if we want to really streamline our governance processes and then fight corruption head on. This is the way to go. They do it without fear or favor.
Okay, great. Now, away from that, let's talk briefly about Parliament. I mean, the House reconvened on the 16th of December, after the whole back and forth about who's majority, who's minority, going to court, and then at the court making a declaration. Eventually, the House reconvened on Monday, and peace prevailed. The NDC minority did go to the minority side, and then the NPP majority also did go to the majority side. But one of the major issues that has come up is in relation to the bills that they intend to work on in the House. There have been concerns about some of them, the timing of it. There won't be enough time to look at those bills, and then also issues relating to the mini budgets that's is supposed to be presented in lieu of appropriation. First of all, peace prevailed finally in the House. It looks like they allowed reason to stand, right?
Well, Parliament has always worked based on consensus, so it is not news to me. They disagree, but at the end of the day, they agree to do the public work service. So I was not worried about the differences that existed between them, because as a former reporter of Parliament, I know that definitely they will come to a consensus, because we put them there for a purpose. They have no business to say that they will not serve our interests. Otherwise, the next opportune time will show them the door. They know that. So they will not want to incur our wrath. Particularly so when they've seen what we have done as a society in terms of our voting in this election. It is food for thought for them, and they will do the needful. And that is how Parliament has worked. People who are not apprised with what goes on in Parliament think that it is they are enemies to themselves, and then they work against their interest, our interest. Far from it, they have their differences and all that, but the national interests always occupy their time. I'm not speaking for them, but as a former reporter working in there, I'm alive to a lot of things that they do, so I can share my idea or opinion about it. It is good that they are coming back and then working as expected. What I am not happy with is the differences that have started in the area of this mini budget that it is, I'm hearing comments that from majority that there is a need for them to do this so that in the end they will be able to also grant the requests of the minority relative to the incoming government's facility that we use in the case of the mini budget. I know that we have priorities. What is the priority in what? Granting people tax waivers compared to that of mini budgets that affect the public service. I think they will see reason to it, and then at the end of the day, reason will prevail, and we'll have the best, which is the budget. Because tax waivers, they are still there. They can be waived at any time. And so that one can wait, so that a new parliament can be constituted and they can look at that. It doesn't change anything. I am happy that the leadership look at some of them and strike them out and all that. And that's where the contention is. But I know at the end of the day, calm will prevail. and then they will reflect on this and then give us what is in the best interest of our society.
So, I mean, we have had instances where the outgoing member of parliament for Tema West, Carlos Ahinkra, he did say that, to give way for the presentation of the expenditure in advance of appropriation, the minority side should also give in for some of these tax waivers, which the minority is arguing that it will have fiscal implications with regard to the next administration, especially when it comes to their budget.
But my issue is that who is dying that we need to give tax relief to save that person? In any case, can that be done after January 7? I mean, I don't get it. So one can wait. And what can we wait is a tax waivers that we can wait for that whilst we pursue the public interest of the mini budget. That is more critical now. So for me, it's one of the problems that you have one way or the other when you are confronted with situations in Parliament. But I know it will die down. What the people's interest in is what prevails.
All right, Doc. Thank you so much for your time. We're grateful that you're able to speak to us, sir.
Pleasure is mine.
You had to speak to Dr. Asante.
He's a senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana and also the head of the Center for European Studies. It's still the Morning Star here on Star 103.5 FM. Let's go for a break. When we return, we'll bring you a conversation with Class House. We'll be back with more. It's still the Morning Star here on Star 103.5 FM.